All right. What is going on? Are we online? Are we online? Yeah, I think so. Let me double check something here. Oh yeah, we're good. Hi folks, what's going on? I am just getting this set up. We'll let people, if anybody is going to come join us live. This is sort of an experimental live stream. I have not done one of these on this channel before, so trying it out. If you got any comments, join in the live chat. Again, sort of a test run. This will be a market update. It'll be a live market update, so I'm going to show you directly in Realtracs what's happening in real time, and you know, again, if you want to comment and point me in a direction that you want to see something, I figured this would actually be a much better way to do market reports. I tend to do them uncut anyway. I cut out some of the ums and pauses and all that. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not exactly a radio personality, so I will have some uhs and ums and whatever else. I'm a real estate agent. That's the disclaimer. But, you know, here we go. Let me switch this over, see if this switcher is working. Looks right on there. Does it look right on my preview? Yes, it does. All right. So, okay. This is all working great so far. There we go. Thank you for working. Okay, so this is Realtracs.com. If you've never been into it before, definitely download the app if you're looking to purchase or sell real estate in Middle Tennessee. Realtracs distributes to all of the Zillows, Trulias, Redfins, Realtor.coms of the world, so that your listing, if you're selling, can go live to all of those people in all of those apps. And also, these are where the live updates are going to come through. Zillow, Realtracs, all those apps are basically up to date and in real time whenever people make updates in their listings, but not 100%. I mean, it's probably pretty close at this point. Used to be like a 48-hour turnaround, which is insane. You want to be a part of and see exactly when updates are made, and so Realtracs is the most live, up to date you can get. Turn on those push notifications, and that one house you've been waiting to drop 15 grand, you'll know when they do. So let's just go straight broadly into Nashville. Actually, if you haven't looked at it, let's go to Google Maps and just take a look here. Nashville is basically, Davidson County is effectively all of Nashville. If I do, let me see if I can get it to outline Davidson County. Yeah, so this outline here, that's what Davidson County looks like. And the Nashville market, you know, a part of Brentwood is Davidson County, Forest Hills. This is all Green Hills down here. This is all West Nashville over here. It's all considered Nashville. Yes, you have little sub-markets and cities like Old Hickory, Lakewood is a part of that, Madison, Whites Creek, etc. Bellevue over here, Westmead, and then you've got the two lakes and what's between those, Hermitage, on down the line. But I guess I had just had a file complete moving over. That's funny. But yeah, so we're going to put in Davidson County, not Nashville. That's the point I was getting to. So Davidson County, Tennessee. So let's just do a quick search. This snapshot tells us listings year over year, how things have sort of increased, decreased. I've seen very limited decreases in terms of new listings, in terms of actually days on market is one of those things that's gone up. That's because homes aren't selling as quickly as they were last year, and last year was really slow. The one thing I'll say, just as a preface to this whole conversation, is that the real estate market in Nashville right now, pretty slow, unfortunately. So that's just a blanket statement because it's true. If we're looking at the last year, you can see this slump. I've said this in every market report I've ever done, but in the cold months, you're going to see a big decline in inventory and sales. These are pricing trends. Let's look at, since we're talking about days on market, this big hump. So November, December, January, February kind of continued to climb in terms of days on market, which is what I experienced. If you had a listing on the market these last few months around the winter last year, that's definitely what you experienced. But the days on market did start to go down, which we expect as the year warms up. And then it kind of came back up. Back in June, or I guess it was May, is when it really started to pick up pace, the market in general. But sales did sort of plateau and level off here in these last couple of months, is what we're seeing here. Let me pull up the last 3 years. We haven't gone over what we were a few years ago. January, February have been the longest days on market. Let's look at the inventory for the last 3 years. So again, inventory just skyrocketing. So last year in July, 2,300, 2,350. And if you look at this year, we're up to 3,060 homes on market. That's the highest inventory we've had or let's look at total inventory. Yeah, it is. It's the highest inventory we've had in the another telling sign in the last few years. Highest. Can I complete sentences here? My wife gets on me all the time about that. I have ADD, so I get distracted. Hence, squirrel. The green line is the under contract inventory. This is our little what do we call that? A key, the map key. Under contract inventory. It looks like it's kind of stayed relatively the same. What's this year over year? So July under contract was 1,100. July this year 1,100, 14. Okay, but as that hasn't changed as inventory has gone up, which means that our buyers have not increased. We haven't increased the number of buyers in the last few years at all. Let me go back to like the last 5 years. We should see, yeah, this line crossed in August of 2022. So let me think back. What were politics doing? What was the rate at that time? It's going to have a correlation line to all of this. The rate definitely has a big impact as to what the market's going to do. But this is an interesting pivotal moment right here. This is when the active inventory rose above the under contract inventory, which means that we have more inventory than we have buyers, effectively. So buyers started dropping off back in 2022, and they haven't really come back, but they haven't necessarily declined either. So if you look at the under contract inventory in January, which is effectively like one of the slowest times of the year, 736 this past January. You go a year before that, 843. Not really that much different. About 100 people more, 100 contracts more last year. You look at let's look at last July. Last July again, 1,100. It's exactly the same for this coming July. So looks like we have someone that's joined us. Thanks for watching. It's a live market update. Let me know if you have any questions. Just comment, and I'll be checking it from time to time. But I'm just going to keep on moving. We've talked about market inventory. We've talked about days on market. Let's look at some pricing trends, and then we'll head over to supply and demand. So this average price has definitely continued to climb, which is good. This is just for Davidson County, though. I think I want to add some other counties to this because, so again, if I pull up this map, so this is Davidson County, if you're not familiar. Just above here, up to the state line, this is all Sumner County up here. I'm going to put that in. Robertson is here. You've got Dixon County over here. Cheatham is right next to us. I think I'm going to stick to like this eastern side and southern. Definitely put in Williamson County. That's where Franklin is. Wilson County. Those are some busier markets. So let's do Sumner, Wilson, Williamson. Yeah, Sumner, Wilson, Williamson, and maybe Cheatham. Okay, run that. Just so we can draw some comparisons on what pricing looks like. Because also, if you're, looking in Nashville for a house to purchase, it's a good idea to know what the prices look like in the surrounding areas. Because one of those things is the prices continue to increase, but the rates are also high. You can really only buy what your money can buy. So anyway, just good to know, what's out there. All right. This is taking a minute. Here we go. All right. So, Davidson County. Williamson County is definitely the most expensive. Which one is this? So yeah, this is basically what I expect. So Cheatham County is going to be on the lowest on the list. It doesn't mean that it's the lowest priced in the market. These are average close prices. What I'm liking about this is that I haven't really seen a major drop off across any of these markets. Apologize for that background noise. Someone must be running a vacuum in the other room. Davidson County, I am looking at a little bit of a price drop off for this last month, but I mean, price drops are not necessarily a bad thing, especially for buyers. For sellers, you should be listing your home at the actual market value and not what any projected value is going to be, because there's no way to know what's going to happen in the future. A lot of people like to overvalue their homes in terms of what the market will actually receive, what kind of play you'll actually get on the market. So again, it's just important to recognize, what your real value, your actual value in terms of what someone will pay for it is before you go and list it and start marketing it. And then really staying on top of what these trends are doing so that you can keep up, because the reality is, if you go and look back at the days on market, and I want to do a cross comparison for that too, if your average days on market is 30 days, then you need a plan for 3 times that. You need a 90-day plan minimum to start with to begin your listing process, because you kind of want to know what's going to happen and what you're going to do as you move along. I digress. Let's look at where are we dropping? So we've increased a little bit in Sumner County. Cheatham County's gone up a little bit. So these are some of these ancillary markets. Those markets stay pretty healthy and they're pretty consistent. You can see these lines haven't done as much changing. Same thing with Wilson County. There's been a lot more wavering in Williamson County, where there's a lot higher price points, more in-demand neighborhoods, and just more rural areas. And then Davidson County is a pretty expansive market. Davidson County is a good indicator of what's going to happen in all of these other surrounding areas. So you can see all of these lines kind of track with one another. Cheatham County definitely bounces quite a bit, but that's because you have places like Kingston Springs, where you've got one of the more popular high schools in that area. But then you also have Ashland City and Pegram, which are much smaller, more rural areas, and the price points are going to be significantly reduced to what you would see in Kingston Springs. So, market report. What do I need to focus on here? Let me go back and look at the days on market now that we have all of these pulled up. Yeah. So the one thing that's inverse to what you saw, and the other, the price averages, whereas Williamson County and Davidson County had some of the higher price points, here they're sort of middle of the road in terms of days on market, so how quickly things are selling. I want to look at what all of this means for these next couple of months, but what's this list? Let me take off a couple of these lines. List to contract. Yeah, gosh, look at those peaks. This is back when people were still overpricing like crazy in some areas. Williamson County, for sure. If we could go back 8 years, you'd see even more craziness in regard to that. But you had a lot of list to contract influxes. February of this year, another December 2023. These months that are colder, I think the only reason we didn't see such high numbers in Cheatham County back in the winter months because I just don't think there was many listings back then. If I compare that, market inventory. Yeah. Well, I guess the inventory has stayed pretty damn constant in Cheatham County. But look how much lower Cheatham County is to Davidson County, for one. Yeah, so people are definitely trying to sell houses. So if you're a buyer, now's a great time. We're definitely in a buyer's market right now. There's a lot more inventory than there are buyers, so you can be a lot more competitive. In today's market, if you're pre-qualified, pre-approved for a mortgage, get to shopping, get out there, get the boots on the ground, work with an agent to figure out exactly where you should be looking based on that price point and where you want to be. All right. Let's do a quick supply and demand. So this is months of supply. Effectively, if I pull up Sumner County, so this is what I was talking about, having a 90-day plan minimum. The lowest bar right now is 3.5 months that you should expect to see all of the inventory that we have on the market last, which means that based on the days on the market and the active under contract, comparing those numbers together, this is how long Realtracs expects houses in July of this year, that listed in July of this year, to stay on the market, right? So Sumner County is the lowest. That's a little bit of a surprise to me because Sumner, although it floats toward the bottom line, again, it's a really healthy market, but not necessarily something that I would expect. Let me just shore this up to not 3 months, but 3 years. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, so Cheatham County at the top of the list, just a little bit of a slower market. Beautiful homes out there. This says nothing about the quality of the homes in any of these areas. It's just different sides of the Middle Tennessee market and the greater Nashville area. So again, Cheatham County is over here. Cheatham Wildlife Management. You got Kingston Springs is one of the more popular little areas. Montgomery Bell. It touches Dixon County and Williamson County right here. But yeah, a lot of really nice Ashland City. It sort of goes right over this lake and up around this area right in here and covers, I don't know if Bethel is in Robertson or Cheatham or Montgomery, but either way, that's where Cheatham County is. So again, a lot of rural areas, and that's probably one of the reasons why we're seeing a higher number of months of supply, but that's only 5 months. Well, 5 months is a long time to wait. I mean, if we go back to July of 2022, you were looking at a lot fewer days or months of supply. You know, month, 2 months, 3 months max. Right now, in July of this last year, I am looking at, up to 4 or 5 months. The lowest is 3.5. Sumner County, Wilson County, still pretty busy. So in comparison to Williamson County, like great school districts are in Williamson County, Sumner, and Wilson for sure. Wilson and Williamson are probably the most preferred, but Sumner County, that's where I personally live, up in Hendersonville, and you know we got great schools up here, competitive to these other markets, and so that might be one of the reasons why we're seeing less days in the market there, because a lot of the people that are buying homes are people with families that need to go somewhere and have somewhere to raise their kids and put them through school. So that might be one of the reasons we're seeing all this. But let's see, this is back in January is when we really had these higher numbers. The one thing that I'm looking at here is this. You know, I expect these higher numbers to be in the winter months, but seeing it in these summer months, these last few years, has a lot to do with rates. And right now, definitely uncertainty about what's going to happen in these next few months. So in terms of like figuring out what all this means for, the market these next few months, let's look at this showing trend. Active showings, we don't really want to. Showings to contract. Okay. Now this is an interesting number to look at. So this means that the average number of times that a property is going to show is at the highest 10 times before it goes under contract. You know, I used to have this rule with my listings that after 10 showings, if you haven't had an offer, you got to reduce the price or change something. 10 days on the market, same thing. It's basically a rule of tens across these different standards. None of that applies to now. You know, that 10 showings in Williamson County is the average before you're going to go under contract, which means that's the average before you receive an offer, probably. So yeah, that's the lowest number here is 6.6. Go back here to 2022, and it was, were they tracking it back then? They might have only been tracking it for one county. I wonder about that. Let me look at 5 years and see if there were any changes prior to that. No, I don't think they were tracking the showings. Oh, that's right, because 2023 is when Realtracs started showing. So this is only for Realtracs showings. There are other showing services like Showing Time, and sometimes agents will show directly or work it out directly with a listing agent to show the property. But yeah, so let's just look at these last 3 years again. The last time we had numbers, I guess this has been pretty average these last few years. That's really interesting to see. I'll bet total showings, not average, total. A lot more showings in these other markets. I mean, it tracks from one area to the next. That's an interesting number to look at. So yeah, again, I think all this means is that we're in a buyer's market. We're going to stay in a buyer's market for a while. It's going to continue to cool off toward the end of the year. The one thing I'll say is, like, if you go back and look at the market activity over these last, let me pull up the 5 years number. Yeah, if you look at this drop off, so from June to July of this year, pretty much everything went down in terms of new listings. Where's the pricing trend? Or market? What do I want to look at for this? Pricing trends? Sure. So prices have basically dropped across the greater Nashville area. Okay. For the most part. The only increases that we've seen are in Sumner County and Cheatham County. Cheatham County is a little bit less reliable. You can see that gray line does a whole lot of this. Sumner County, though, is it's not really an indicator for these other markets, but that's an indicator that Sumner is a pretty strong market, even in a buyer's market. So if we go back to June, July of last year, it was a very similar kind of thing. Now, Davidson County did go up from June to July, and I do expect that. I mean, I think usually you'll see an increase July to August for the most part, but with these declines, again, August, September, October had a little peak for some reason last year. That was interesting. I remember that last year that we saw a little bump in October. That was sort of an anomaly, because if you go back and look at some of these other months, December and January of 2024 went up. I forgot about that. I mean, you could see, like, on average it did go down, but this is just the closed average sale closed price. What about the active list price? Staying pretty consistent year over year. So the list prices haven't really gone up, even if those closed prices are jumping. So the closed prices don't necessarily correlate with the list prices. Remember, back in 2022 we had a big spike for Williamson County in the what was it? It wasn't the list price. It was maybe the pricing ratios or something. But anyway, also inventory is going to be affected by new construction. You can't discount new construction. There's been so much new construction across the market these last few years. It's slowed down quite a bit, but they're still in major production. In Williamson County, the last like 5 to 10 years has been one of the most developed, and it's really started to slow down quite a bit. But yeah, all of these are plateauing these last 3 years. You still saw a big increase into 2023, but we're not seeing major increases in these list prices these last few years. So yeah, sellers aren't really gaining a whole lot of value to sell with, and buyers have a much stronger position. I think that's basically just going to continue on. Really, July to August, yeah, same thing. I don't think the list prices, we might have a little bit of a dip. Looks like Davidson County had a little bit of a dip. Sumner County had a bit of a dip in the winter months. Cheatham County, not really. Wilson County, yeah, I guess a little bit of a dip into this year. Davidson County definitely went down a little bit, but really not by much. Yeah, really not by much. We're talking about 1 or 2 points. So anyway, I think that's basically it. I think that's a pretty fair report. I mean, you know, what does it mean for right now? And if you're looking to sell or to buy, I think I've already said it. It's a great buyer's market. For sellers, that doesn't mean it's a bad market for sellers, but it means that you're not going to have any more value than you had a couple of years ago necessarily. And again, you should really just price accordingly. Really have a plan together for your listing, for when you go live, and work with your agent to ensure that showings, that your house is very presentable, the photos, the media all needs to be on point. It's just more important right now than it has been in the last few years to bring your product, your property on the market and meet the expectation of those buyers, because they can afford to be picky. They've got, they're going to go look at, if that 10 showings means they're going to go look at 10 other houses before they come to yours, or 10 other people are going to see it before the right person comes by, that means that your marketing needs to be on point. You're targeting those specific people that are looking for a house like yours. So you really just want to make sure that you've got a great presentation. It's honest. Humility is key in any kind of marketing. I know in America we don't seem to do that a lot. The approach is typically, I've got the best, I am the best, and all that kind of stuff. But I think, honesty and transparency is key. Whereas we are a seller disclosure state. So having all those disclosures online in advance, making sure that people can see through the carpet, past the appliances, whatever age they are, and can capture the real nuts and bolts of what make up your property. That's what you want to be putting out there. It might seem counterintuitive, but the reality is that you will bring the right buyer closer to you by being more upfront about what you have. So, a little free advice for you. That's where I'm at. That is the market report for today. I appreciate you for joining. I think that's pretty much going to be it. Yeah, good time. Great oldies. I appreciate you for joining today. Thank you very much. And we will see you, on the flip side. Maybe I'll do another one of these market reports after we have a little bit more information from this month, around this time in September, or even sooner if this goes well. Talk soon. See you then. Thanks for watching.